Tasha was my best friend. But then things changed. She just seemed a little bit distant. I kept trying to call her. No answer.
Tasha had some really strange stuff that happened that gave me a little bit of a chill down my spine.
I kind of got this weird, kind of a gut feeling, almost made me sick.
As soon as I pulled in the driveway, I knew I could feel something was not right.
That's why you were afraid to go in the house, because you knew what to expect.
No, sir.
Yes.
I will look you dead straight in the eye.
That's why.
Everything she was doing from the word go was a ruse, was a plan, was an act.
Tell me what happened that day.
Sometimes those monsters are people that we know and we love and we care about.
There's Gary and Tasha out there in the outback. Look at them in the outback.
Tasha Bentley and her husband Gary are on vacation with their friends Kevin.
I'm a cameraman and documentary expert.
And Amy.
Tasha was my best friend, and Gary was Kevin's best friend. And Tasha's idea was that we were going to do this little best friends vacation to Jamaica.
What is that?
I don't know. Early soon.
Tasha and Gary had sort of bought into this little timeshare, and so I told her that it was a great idea. You know, we all worked really hard, definitely earned our paychecks, and we just kind of wanted just some time away.
We went together, the four of us, and it was a really great experience. I mean, it was a wonderful time. We're staying in this gorgeous resort right on the beach. We lived the high life as if money didn't matter, because while you were there, money doesn't matter.
Don't drink the water, it'll make you fart.
I'm with my best friends, and I'm with my future wife, so I couldn't be happier.
Tasha and Gary first met in 2006.
Gary was about 23 and Tasha was a little bit older than him, so she would have been 24. She was a little bit more assertive than Gary was. He was a little bit more laid back.
She liked to dress up a little bit more, and he was very just blue jeans and a t-shirt, kind of little country guy.
He loved being outdoors. He would go hunting. He liked to collect guns and fishing equipment, so he was a homebody.
Turn around and smile at me, tell me that. I caught a shark.
Gary's an electrician. Tasha's a nurse. After 6 years of dating, the pair tie the knot in September 2012. Their son Connor is born 3 months later.
They were both very attentive parents, but she a lot of times let him take the lead. I'm just going to kind of sit back and talk to the girls, and, you chase the little one around a little bit.
Gary's son was his pride and joy. I mean, he built his life around a future for that little boy.
When Gary turned 30, he was achieving all the things that he wanted to do in life. He found the right woman. He was a great dad. He had a nice house, nice cars, nice toys, nice guns.
Gary came out of himself in marriage. He found what he was looking for. My brother was at a place in his life where he was content and he was happy.
Gary and Tasha, they had everything going for them. They were successful people. They had money. They had the whole world at their fingertips.
Despite all their success and money, under the surface, trouble is brewing in the Bentley marriage.
Before our trip to Jamaica, Tasha had been having some performance issues at her job. I believe that Gary had his own suspicions based on how Tasha was acting, that maybe Tasha's job was in jeopardy. That was bothering him, which was causing them to have conflict. This is a clip of us on our day before our final day when we took the private chartered boat out for a fishing trip. We were fishing, we were drinking.
Look at the hunter. Look at the determination on the hunter's face.
Gary's only concern was to catch fish. My only concern was to drink that bottle of rum.
Woo! Right here. Drop my phone in the ocean. Don't drop the phone in the ocean.
And I offered Gary a drink. I said, come on, man. We're having a great time. Don't sweat it. He actually took the drink that I made him and threw it in my face. And told me that I was selfish and obnoxious. I felt that at the time, maybe due to what was happening with Tasha and Gary, that I was pretty much his excuse for the actions that had taken place to be able to let those emotions out.
That was very shocking. I don't think any of us said anything else for several minutes. It felt a little bit awkward, but after that, we just continued to do our vacation.
Gary is right about Tasha's work problems. Soon after Tasha arrives back from Jamaica, her employer fires her.
Her losing a job definitely upset Gary. He always wanted to be financially prepared. You don't want that extra stress because someone can't maintain a job.
But that's kind of her personality, where we're not going to cry about something that we can't undo. We're just going to keep going and we'll probably find something better. And she did.
Tasha's new job seems to put the family back on track.
And things were going good. They were both working again. Sometimes you and your partner veer off a little bit and you just had to find your way back.
Gary and Tasha were doing fairly well. But at the same time, we noticed that Tasha had some really strange stuff that happened.
In 2016, Tasha calls her father-in-law Gerald from a rest stop on the interstate. She tells him that her car has broken down and she needs him to pick her up.
By the time we get to the gas station, there's a 100-foot plume of smoke in the air. The car was on fire.
It's not Tasha's first car fire.
Shortly after Tasha and Gary were dating, she had her first car catch on fire.
The second one was a car that wasn't even running, that was sitting in their driveway in the new house. And it mysteriously caught on fire and burned up in the driveway.
By the time a third car catches on fire, a pretty new car, you really start to question what the heck's going on.
The insurance paid out. She carried gap coverage, so, she was able to always move on to another vehicle. I mean, what are the chances of that, literally? Maybe there's people who've had it happen 2 times, but really, how many people have ever had it happen 3 times?
I had suspicion at that point. That gave me a little bit of a chill down my spine.
We went on a family trip to Mexico. It was just Gary, Tasha, Gerald, myself, and our grandson. We were all planned it for a long time. We were all excited. But Tasha seemed to be more, standoffish. She was just really moody the whole time, kind of grumpy. Would start arguments over little bitty things, Gary was just always like, oh, she's tired and everything's good,
Gary's father spends quality time fishing with him.
Nice. We took a charter boat out to catch red snappers. I could tell during that trip that something was off and bothering him. At the resort, you couldn't use your cell phone. You had to go use the landline. Tasha, she just kept disappearing. Oh, I'll be right back. I've got to go. Or I'm going to the room, which she wasn't going to the room. She was going to make calls.
She would just be really evasive about it, not wanting you to hear what she was talking about. And it made Gary mad.
And on the boat, I had approached Gary and, hey, is everything okay? But he would never open up to me about any of it. He was like, I'll handle it.
Definitely when we came back from our trip, noticed Tasha was gone a lot. She was working a lot of hours. And then every weekend, she was just never home.
Tasha said she had a work conference in Knoxville, Tennessee, but she only found out the day before it was happening. So she tells Gary that she has to go and that it's mandatory, so she disappears. And at that point, I approached Gary and said, Gary, what's going on here? Something's not right. She's acting weird. There's no way she's working all these hours. And Gary was just so, laid back, quiet, that he was going to deal with it himself.
She just seemed a little bit more distant, like family functions and stuff. She would be on her phone the whole time that she was around us. She started working overtime all the time. When she wasn't able to get off work and pick their son up from the daycare, my brother, Gary, had to start kind of picking up the slack. He seemed a little distant and a little tired to me.
At that point, we would be getting ready for deer season. We would put out feeders, we'd put out cameras, and Gary was in heaven because he could take his son. That was one of Gary's big dreams, to take his boy hunting.
He had put they called it a deer condo, a deer stand up in the woods, and he was starting to take his little guy out there.
This was the year that Gary was going to let his son sit in the stand with him.
They would talk about looking out the windows and seeing the animals and seeing the deer. Just a really good, fun father-son bonding moment. Thanksgiving of 2017. Black Friday's the next day. And Tasha, she was very eager to get out of my house that day to go shopping. She was out really, really late into the night and came home with really no gifts. Just excuses that she really couldn't find anything.
I think Gary wanted to believe it, but I think in the back of his mind, he knew she was up to something.
On Thanksgiving, Gary and I went out, and Gary bought a large gun safe to keep his guns in.
Gerald helps to install it in a bedroom closet.
When we installed the safe, Gary and I put the guns in there. I could tell by my son's demeanor that something was wrong, and that's, I approached Gary, and he kind of brushed me off.
The week after Thanksgiving, I had gone to their house. She would still cut our hair sometimes. And, we were just talking and chatting, and Tasha says, I'm afraid to stay at home by myself. And I said, wow, what? What's going on? And she's like, yeah, I'm just nervous to be here by myself. I'm afraid somebody's out to hurt Gary. And I looked at him. I said, did you make somebody mad? Why would somebody be mad at you or after you? And And he's like, she's just crazy, Mom. And I kind of laughed it off. I kind of, went about the rest of our evening in a conversation, but it just didn't sit right.
On December the 10th, 2017, I received a call from Tasha stating that she had driven home and that she pulled in the driveway and that the garage door was open and she was scared to go in because it didn't look right. So I drove over there and I went in through the garage and was yelling for Gary. I entered the house through the open garage door. The dogs came running to me. Proceeded through the house to the kitchen. I turned the corner to Gary's bedroom and found him. Gary was gone. I think at the point when I found my son laying there that I went into shock.
Gerald called and he said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "I'm on my way to Amy's." And he said, "Just turn your car around and come to Gary's right now." So I asked him, "Is something wrong with my baby?" And he said, "He's dead." I started just screaming, "Oh my God, not my baby. Oh, my baby, what on earth? Why God, why my baby?" And then my daughter calls me.
I just remember, it seemed like my legs kind of got wobbly. My heart was in my stomach. It's like you can't even believe this is real, this is your life. It's shocking, just how our lives just changed.
On December 10th, 2017, at approximately 7:56 p.m. is when the Kentucky State Police Post 5 received a phone call from Gerald Bentley. When Gerald called, he identified that his son was lying in his bed with a bullet in the back of his head. When I arrived on the scene, I go inside the bedroom, and I'm focusing on Gary, who's lying in his bed with his face turned away from the doorway. He's covered up with a blanket. Gary's in his bed sleeping. He was not disturbed by something, yet somebody came in and killed him.
There was the shell casing recovered in the bed, and they found an open gun safe, which appeared to have missing guns. It had a keypad alarm system on it, and it was standing open.
No electronics were stolen. Nothing was damaged inside the house as it was ransacked. None of the other big tools were stolen. So my thought was somebody may have come in and stolen the guns just for the sake of getting the guns alone and not worry about the other items.
But if someone's in his house who's not supposed to be there, you would think that the dogs would have alerted him to that and he wouldn't have been executed in his bed. That is not consistent with what you would think of a type of home invasion robbery.
And that's telling me somebody who was very acquainted with the family and the dogs killed Gary.
Detective Samu interviews Tasha in a patrol car. She claims that she last saw Gary alive that morning before he left to hunt deer.
What time did you try to make contact with Gary?
I texted him a few times. I called him a few times.
She shows me that she's sending a text message saying, "How's the hunting going?" Something to that effect. Hope you got something good.
At any time whatsoever from you calling or texting him, did he respond back in any way?
No, sir.
Okay, so you left the house. Where did you go?
Friend Amy, I texted her before I left the house and said that we'd come over and see her. So I had already told Gary that he could go hunt. We were gonna go hang out at
Okay, so you went to Amy's and Kevin's house? What's her last name?
Kevin Day.
Tosh had informed me that there was a male friend of theirs named Kevin. So is there something going on that Kevin is an interest for me?
How did Kevin and Gary get along? Any kind of disagreements or issues?
They had a disagreement a long time ago.
About?
We were just on vacation in Jamaica. They had both been drinking and just gotten a spat.
My question is Kevin involved in all this? Is there an argument between Kevin and Gary? Do I need to investigate him? I had another detective follow up on a check. Kevin was there when Tasha arrived, but he had left around noonish to go play volleyball. There was no information whatsoever that Kevin was involved in Gary's murder. Tasha identified Kevin distancing herself from the situation. That's an issue for me. Why is that? She also tried to contact Gerald to check on Gary.
I called my father-in-law and I asked him, "Have you heard from Gary?" I've been trying to get a hold of him all day. I called the house. I texted him numerous times today.
Gerald had answered the phone at one time and said that, well, maybe he's still out hunting, maybe he's sleeping, whatever. Obviously, as a hunter, he's going to have his cell phone either turned off, muted, not available, but yet now all of a sudden she's starting up some concerns.
So when you tried calling your husband and didn't get an answer, shortly thereafter, you tried contacting your father-in-law to find out what's up with your husband?
He said he was gonna call, and he had texted me back. He called the house and he hadn't heard from me. I asked, okay, if you hear from him, let me know.
You ask yourself the question, why didn't she go home? What's so wrong about going to check on your husband if there's an issue?
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Sorry for your loss.
When you say it, it makes it real.
Sorry.
I was hoping he was okay.
Kevin's wife, Amy, reaches out to Tasha when she learns that Gary has been murdered.
I called her immediately. I kept trying to call her. No answer. I'm thinking she is so upset that she just can't talk. But then she did end up calling me. I asked her about the funeral. I said, what do you need from me? Do you need any help? And she said, I don't know, I'm just not gonna go. I was very shocked at that. And I kind of got this weird, kind of a gut feeling, almost made me sick. I got a little scared.
I received a phone call from my supervisors to say that Gerald Bentley wanted me to call him back.
Gerald tells Detective Samu that Tasha's friend Amy has information to share.
I'm gonna put her on now.
Okay.
She can tell you what she knows.
Okay.
Hi, this is Amy.
So I vaguely remember being at Gerald and Lisa's house, and I was on the phone with the detective that I had never met on the other end.
What is it you want to tell me about the situation?
I know that Tasha, which was Gary's wife, is having an affair. She planned to leave him on January 14th.
Okay, and who is she having an affair with?
His name is Anthony.
She had told me that at work she met this guy that worked there, Anthony. Tasha had expressed to me that her plan for leaving Gary to go be with Anthony was in January. She had made that decision to leave. So I felt like, why am I the only one that she's telling all of these things to? I think that she just knew I was loyal and that I wasn't going to judge her for it. Tasha was my best friend. But, at that point, my loyalty was not to her anymore. It's to Gary's family.
So my focus now became that I think Tasha either did the killing, or is Anthony involved in this? Is Anthony my shooter?
Amy and Gerald also reveal on the call that Tasha and Gary researched life insurance.
I knew about them wanting to get life insurance, and I knew Gary was totally against it because Tasha wasn't being realistic on the amount that they were wanting to get. Gary was looking at getting like $250,000, $350,000, and she wanted the $1 million.
Detective Samu secures recordings of the calls that Tasha made to her insurance company.
Our son's almost 5. We've waited too long. We're not getting any younger. I see death every day. I see accidents every day.
Yep.
We need to take care of ourselves.
Tasha was approved on the application for Gary to have $1 million policy. I believe that policy was taken out like 5 days before the murder took place. But Tasha gets on the phone and talks to AIG again and says,
I was almost wondering what would $2 million look like.
So your husband, based on his income of $65,000, can get as much as $1.625 million.
It didn't get approved, but $1 million was approved. I also come to find out that in regards to the insurance company, Tasha had set up the authorization by signature of the insurance policy based on an electronic signature, not a personal signature that somebody would handwrite in. So that added a new dimension to this investigation. Why do we have this insurance policy? What's behind that? Gerald had told me that Tasha had experience in dealing with insurance companies, her car being damaged, another car being on fire. So she had what I would determine a very experienced level in communicating with insurance companies, how to collect monies. I already know that she's already having an affair, so something's not wonderful. The things that Amy was telling me guided me to now, I feel very confident that Tasha has done something to make this happen.
Later that afternoon, Detective Samu invites Tasha to an interview at the station.
Today's date is Monday, December 11th.
I need to secure some more information about Anthony and Tasha, and also about the insurance.
Does Anthony's name ring a bell? How are you associated with Anthony?
Friends outside of work, friends at work.
Describe friends outside of work.
We hang out.
And you can tell by her expression, she's like, well, how did you figure that one out? But she knew that I knew. Tasha started then unwinding a little bit.
Any romantic affairs?
Yes.
How serious was your romance?
We've been intimate a few times.
You guys would know about this?
No. Don't like Gary cared about me.
What's going through my mind is to say, you're done your crying because you're worried about you're going to get caught.
What was going to happen on January 14th? You know, something else was going to happen on January 14th. Between you and Anthony.
We talked about moving out.
And moving in with them. Down the living room. I didn't think Gary would have taken it.
I told him if somebody else gave me attention, that I'd leave him for you.
And then I confronted Tasha about the $1 million policy.
I'm talking about $1 million policy. What better way to collect on a policy than have him killed?
Yes.
You've got a boyfriend, you're going to leave your husband, and you want to have financial stability in case something happens. You get this large insurance policy, $1 million worth. You killed him because you wanted the money, you're greedy. I have money now to go have my affair and go live another happy life that I'm not happy with that I got right now.
You can have it all. Set it up, have him killed, you got the insurance money. You did.
Yes.
I think Tasha either did the killing or she hired somebody. I'm very secure about what I'm saying.
Right now, if you were in my shoes, what would you think? You had the means, you had the motive, you had the opportunity. That's why you were afraid to go in the house, because you knew what to expect. You knew your husband was murdered in that house. That's why you didn't want to go in.
No, sir.
Yes.
I will look you dead straight in the eye.
That's why.
I did not kill my husband.
She just wouldn't accept it, kept denying it. And so I was hoping she was going to just take that extra leap to say, yes, I did this. I told her, I said, I'm going to walk out of this room, but I know what the truth is.
Hey, Tasha, how are you doing?
2 hours into the interview with Tasha Bentley, Detective Samu hands over to Lieutenant Kevin Johnson.
Anybody else?
My approach to Tasha's interview was that I pressed her and I pressed her and I pressed her. Lieutenant Johnson portrayed a different tactic in that he was not as aggressive as I was in the interview.
What happened to Gary that day? Because you know what happened. And it is killing you to sit there and lie to me and not tell me the truth. It will feel so much better when you tell me the truth of what happened. And you know it. Tasha, tell me what happened that day. What did you do, Gary? Who did it? Who went there? Tell me, please.
No.
Yes, you know who went there.
No.
He didn't shoot himself.
I know he did.
And you can still be a mother to your child. But after today, I can't promise that.
There was a key element that changed when Lieutenant Johnson identified how things are going to affect Connor.
If you won't do it for me, do it for your son.
She finally admits the fact that she did kill her husband. And so Lieutenant Johnson tried to expose the rationale of what Tasha's motives were. She starts identifying that the reason why Gary is dead was to protect Connor. That her son, Connor, was being abused.
Where did he hit him?
Smacked him in the back of the head.
Smacked him in the back of the head, like back here. You can look at this.
He went like this.
Her story now is that Gary's been abusive and that their son had angered Gary and that he had physically taken Connor and thrown him back into the bed and that Tasha was in there trying to protect him.
So after that happened, what did you decide to do? Did that just set you off in a rage?
And she gets her gun out of her purse, which was a handgun with purple grips, and goes in the master bedroom.
Did you wait for him to lay back down in the bed? And then what did you do? You shot him? Where did you shoot him at? How close was the gun to him? You can show it on me. Did you have it right against his head? Okay.
She's confessed to the murder. She's made allegations that it was in response to some domestic violence situation in their home, that he had been abusive to their son. We had to explore those allegations of abuse, to interview any and all people that were closely associated with them, her friends, her family, his family, the daycare workers. We were able to determine that there was no evidence of any abuse on Connor. And it really solidified for me as a prosecutor what kind of person we were dealing with. And to see how heartless she is. So cold and calculating.
Tasha admits to the police that she emptied the gun safe to make the scene look like a robbery gone bad.
What did you do with the guns? Were they in the storage unit in Louisville?
I could take them there, but I didn't.
It was your boyfriend that held on to? Where are they at? I gotta go get them.
I took them to him.
You took them to him? And you tell him just to hold on to them for you?
Tasha says that she packed the guns into boxes and stashed them at her boyfriend's sister's house.
We went straight to Louisville, to the address, and we found all the guns that was removed from the house. The murder weapon was a silver gun, and it had a purple grip to it. That was Tasha's gun. I was able to interview Anthony personally around December 12th.
He acknowledged that he had an intimate relationship with Tasha. So it was around 2 to 3 months. And he understood that she was going to leave Gary.
Anthony provided pictures. He provided text messages. Everything that you can consider that would be very relevant to this investigation, Anthony provided with ease. Tasha had said that she had taken some training, I believe it was in Knoxville. Well, it came to being that he confirmed he and Tasha had gone on a weekend getaway, that they stayed at a cabin in Gatlinburg.
I ain't gonna lie about nothing.
And I can show you how you're telling me the truth. When you said that you went to Knoxville, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
On 16, 17? Okay? Right there. That's your time card right there. That's your name right there.
Yes,
you
sir.
took off November 16, 17.
Yes, sir.
Tasha was always providing excuses to say, I'm going here, but in reality she went over there. Part of all that was around the Thanksgiving time when Tasha said she's going shopping, when in reality she didn't go shopping. She went over to Anthony's family's house. Anthony went on to identify then how he came to possess those guns. And he was very adamant that he was not involved in this murder. Tasha had conveyed to Anthony, I'm bringing some clothes over because I'm moving out. I want to make sure I got all this stuff. But when they got there, it was guns. Anthony had asked Tasha, why do you have all these guns here? What's going on? Tasha's response was, I brought these guns here because when Gary finds out that I'm having an affair with you, I don't want him to kill me.
You know nothing about what she did or what was going to happen or none of that. I swear to God.
And so Anthony is thinking, well, he's doing it to protect Tasha, not as an aiding and abetting Tasha's crime.
Man, I swear to you.
Anthony was not involved in killing Gary. His alibi was solid, so that's how we were able to rule him out.
I would never in my life want nobody to get hurt, man.
I felt very secure that Anthony and his sister was not involved in this murder. It was strictly Tasha.
Investigators pieced together the lead-up to Gary's murder.
It's textbook, from my perspective, of what her motive was, which was money, and I guess love, too, because she said she loved Anthony. So I suppose she didn't feel like she could be secure financially with Anthony, so she was going to take care of that by killing her husband and getting the life insurance policy to support their lifestyle. She gets confirmation that there's life insurance in place December the 6th, 4 days before the murder. Then I think that she got out of bed while Gary was sleeping. She shot him. Simple as that. She executed him. After she stages the robbery, she takes the weapons. She leaves the garage door open, puts the weapons in the trunk of her car, and then she spends several hours at Amy's house. Everything that she did, she planned it out. She had her alibi all structured out. She told Amy she was going to go shopping, but she meets up with her boyfriend, Anthony, at 5:54 at his sister's home, where she brought the weapons to be stored. At 6:54, she calls Gerald, and she tells him that she's actually at their home in Henry County, and the garage door's open, and, she's concerned that something's wrong. But the cell phone records, we were able to later discern that she was not there when she made that phone call. I think she thought she was going to get away with it. That she had set the stage, that she was smarter than everybody else involved. I think she's extremely manipulative.
On July 20th, 2021, Tasha pleads guilty to murder, and a judge later sentences her to 55 years behind bars.
We tell our kids to watch out for strangers and watch out for these monsters. But sometimes those monsters are people that we know and we love and we care about.
Look at the hunter. Look at the determination on the hunter's face.
To me, Gary is always going to be my little brother. We spent our whole life together. I want him to know how much I love him and how much I miss him.
Nothing's ever going to change the fact that our son is gone. And wish every day that he was here with us. We've really stuck together. We have a great support system. There's still some struggles. We will do everything in our power to take good care of his baby boy.
Turn around and smile at me, tell me that.
I caught a shark.
I see so much of Gary and that little boy. He'll be sitting around and I'll just look over and it's like, oh my goodness, it looks like 9-year-old Gary sitting over there. And if he grows up to be 3/4 of the man that his father was, then we will be happy.